And that's what we do. So let us educate people and let people make their own decisions, but let them make an educated decision. People left without education will make decisions based on ignorance and hearsay. And that's usually a formula for disaster.
It is, and it's amplified by things like social media and stuff like that.
Especially now with social media, because I just see things all the time that I cringe. And like the deal with the color on the mask, the blue meant that you were infected and white meant you weren't, and and it's not true. It's just not true. So
well, there's other things that we're learning too, like Lysol. Lysol disinfectant has been used as a disinfectant for a lot of things, and it was just recently determined that it will kill the coronavirus or the
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much.
No, it doesn't, but it hadn't been tested specifically for this particular item. Now they've done some tests, and they say, yeah, this works. Should I Lysol my mask?
No. Actually, the best sanitation you can do for your mask is putting it on the dashboard of your pickup in 110-degree temperatures outside.
And that'll kill...
That will get 99% of whatever.
Yeah.
That's one of the best deals, just setting it on the... It only takes 15 to 20 minutes on the dashboard of a truck in the middle of the summer. Because I put a thermometer, my dashboard board hit 165 in less than 5 minutes.
It's amazing.
It's quite amazing.
So, and the mask that you wore, that you have,
right?
That's a cloth mask.
Yeah, this is an N95 surgical mask.
So you've got a surgical mask
left over from my surgical. It's fairly old. Recover.
Okay.
And so masks are not 100% effective. They are effective. And what we hope the mask does is reduce your exposure level to a subclinical level so that you may get some coronavirus, but it's so small and so few that you don't develop the disease. But your body develops some antibodies against it,
Well, that's interesting. So even if you read on the box of masks, it says right there clearly in the disclaimer, this is, it's not like an N95 mask or one of the high level, surgical type things that our healthcare workers have to have.
Right.
So the mask doesn't necessarily prevent you from possibly being exposed to the COVID-19 virus. It's just at such a low enough level that your body, in most cases, can handle it. Okay.
And also remember that labels on masks or anything is written by lawyers and they're covering their butt.
Well, this is true.
Because they don't want to get sued because you're wearing the mask and you got COVID-19.
The classic example of that is on a package of peanuts.
Yeah.
Caution. Contains peanuts. And it says on the package it's peanuts. But if they didn't put that on there, they do that. So it's probably not a bad idea to wear masks to minimize the amount of the exposure you might get.
To reduce your exposure.
Reduce your exposure, but you're still...
And also reduce your ability to expose other people.
Right. But it's not preventing us from building up a herd immunity.
No.
Okay.
No, because you always got leaks on the side. But instead of getting 100,000 particles of COVID, you get 3.
Okay.
Or 5.
Well, theoretically then, if we're all wearing masks and we're not 100% preventing exposure or spreading, but we're reducing it, would that not result in an increase in positive test results if we start testing everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got in this discussion with a friend of mine. I said, we can't stop COVID. It's beyond that. So, the whole idea is to keep it to manage infection rate. We can't stop it. We need to manage infection rate so that we can handle it with our healthcare workers. So we don't overwhelm hospitals and facilities and mortuaries.
Right.
So that we can manage the infection rate.
Right.
By managing the infection rate, we build herd immunity. So
the fact that the media keeps telling us every day, 50,000 new cases, 60,000 new cases. The governor yesterday, second highest number of new cases identified in New Mexico, at 300 and some odd cases. That's just an indication that the virus has made its way around the entire
Yeah, we're past that.
Okay.
I mean, that was important 9 months ago, but it's not that important
So
now.
what is more important now?
To me,
Yeah.
the important matrix to be looking at is the number of new cases and the number of hospital admissions, that ratio. And we're getting a lot more new cases, but we're really not going up in hospital admissions.
We went from about 120 in hospital a couple of weeks ago to around 170. So there's been that increase in
But the ratio has gone down.
Correct.
Because
we've been running 200 to 300 cases a day have been identified.
Right. The ratio is actually going down, even though we're getting more hospital cases.
Mm-hmm.
The ratio between those infected and those going into the hospital has gone down. That's telling us we're getting some herd immunity.
Okay.
That's telling us we're starting to show some herd response. So that ratio is real important. The X ratio is the number of hospitalized to those that die, and that ratio has been going down.
That's correct. I mean, we're still 3 to 6 deaths a day versus the hospitalizations, though. The hospitalizations are up to 170, but we're still 3 to 6 deaths.
And that tells us two things. One is we're developed. The healthcare system is. We have a good healthcare system.
We have an excellent healthcare system.
And our people have learned how to treat symptomatically the disease and get people through the hard spot. But,
well, when we took the break, we were talking about the herd immunity and the mask's role in developing that herd immunity and some of the stats that you look at to indicate if we're achieving that. One of the things that people probably don't know or are unaware of is just the proper way to put it on and take it off, and if it's going to work, if it's going to achieve its mission of
used improperly, it could actually make things worse.
We'll talk a little bit about that with some of the improper ways that people do this versus the proper way.
One of them is most of the disposable masks have a outside and an inside. There's a blue and a white side. That color's not there to indicate that you're infected or not infected or whatever. It's there so you know which side you put on the inside the first time.
Okay.
So whatever you choose to put the blue side out or the white side out, make sure every time you put it on, you do it the same way. Because otherwise, if you had that blue side out and then you put the blue side in, you just exposed yourself with a high level of something.
Right.
Regardless of whether it's...
Could be COVID-19.
Could be COVID-19 or it could be pecan pollen,
Right.
Whatever.
Exactly.
So make sure you're consistent with that. Don't ever touch the mask itself. Touch the earpieces. Take it off by the earpieces. Put it back on by the earpieces, or tie it behind your head. However it works. Don't touch the front. That's one of the problems I see with people using bandanas. How do you know which side was out?
And how do you pull it up and pull it down without touching the outside part of it?
Yeah. So you don't want to touch the outside of it. You don't want to touch, and you want to make sure it comes down and seals around as best as you can. And there's a little metal piece that's not for transmitting your location. I saw that on Facebook.
Does your mask have Bluetooth? Is the question?
Yeah, it doesn't have Bluetooth. But that's to mash down around your nose so you get a better seal around your nose.
Yeah.
The worst thing is putting it down below your nose.
Yes.
Because then the mask acts like a funnel to put stuff up your nose.
But people have done that. And I'll see people in a store or whatever, and they have a mask, but then they'll pull it down. They'll grab it from the front, and they'll pull it down below their nose, and then it's time to interact with the customer, and they'll pull it back up over the nose.
Yeah.
That's not helping, is it?
That's not helping, And that's one of the reasons why I think they were saying don't wear masks was not because they're trying to. There was a shortage of masks, but that's another issue. But not because they were trying to keep people from wearing masks, is because most people don't know how to do it properly, and used improperly. It's just like a hammer. Used properly, you can build a nice building. Used improperly, you just broke the window.
Well, that's and again, this is all interesting because I don't hear that. And I'm not trying to turn this into a political thing. I don't hear that from some of our leaders, and I don't care if they're here in New Mexico or across the country. I hear, you got to wear the mask. It's mandated. You got to wear the mask. But I don't see anybody explaining the proper way to do it and how it's going to help versus the improper way and how it could make it worse.